Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday afternoon. I wanted to share a piece of information that is just really fun. Hope United Methodist YouTube page is actually going global, and we have brothers and sisters in Christ all the way from the country of Japan that are watching these daily devotionals and the worship services that we have on this YouTube channel. So it is so fun to stay connected and to be on this journey together of faith, locally and now globally. And so, hello to all of those of you watching in Japan. We are so glad that you are with us. I wanted to take a moment and address Governor Bullock's press conference that he had this afternoon in regards to some of the restrictions being lifted and our state going into phase 1 of protocol. A part of phase 1 allows houses of worship to open their doors again, starting as early as this Sunday, April 26th. Now, that is permissible, but it is not what all churches are going to be doing because there is a lot of logistics and a lot of things to consider, mainly our elderly and our at-risk population that make up our churches. And so we will not be having in-person worship this Sunday, April 26th. And neither will any of the other Billings Methodist pastors and churches. We will continue to have online worship this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. But please know we are meeting and will continue to meet and decide what we will be doing and when we will be reopening. And we will be doing that as safely as possible. I have been consulting various medical professionals and experts. I have been speaking with John Felton from Yellowstone County today, who is not only our medical expert for this Yellowstone County, but also just a dear brother in Christ. And he had some wonderful knowledge and wisdom that he shared with me. I have lots of conference calls with not only the other Billings Methodist pastors, but the other churches, Protestant churches, and clergy, men and women around Billings, as we are all prayerfully asking God how and when we should reopen the church doors. I want you to know that this is not an easy decision, and this is not something that I take lightly or am going to do flippantly. And I know that that will anger and upset some people, but the safety of all of the congregation, not just some of the congregation, is the most important thing for me. And so I want to make sure that when we do open our doors of Hope United Methodist Church and all of the other churches, that we are doing so with the highest of integrity, the greatest wisdom, and respect for all people. And all people means our elderly church members that are 65 and older, all of our church members who are at risk because they have some sort of health condition or pre-existing medical ailment, and many people who are currently sick. I am asking you to just be really honest about any sort of symptoms you are experiencing so that when we do open our doors, you would refrain from coming if you are sick. More information on when we will open to come, but for now, please just know this Sunday, April 26th, we will be having online worship at 10:30 a.m., and we will continue to work so hard to make sure that ministry continues to happen as we slowly but surely move through this process this spring together. Okay, great. So now I will be reading our daily devotional, and we are going to continue on in Revelation chapter 2, and I will start in verse 18. And the angel of the church of Thyatira, The words of the Son of God, who has eyes like a flame of fire and whose feet are like burnished bronze. I know your works, your love and faith and service and patient endurance, and that your latter works exceed the first. But I have this against you, that you tolerate the woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess and is teaching and seducing my servants to practice sexual immorality and eat food sacrificed to idols. And then it continues on. But the rest of you, Thyatira, who do not hold to this teaching, who have not learned what some call the deep things of Satan, to you I say, I do not lay on you another burden. Only hold fast to what you have until I come. The one who conquers and who keeps my works until the end, to him I will give all authority over to the nations, and I will give them the morning star. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. So, Thyatira, however you pronounce that, is the church today that we are going to be discussing. And again, this church is very similar from our church yesterday, where they are struggling with sexual immorality and, again, indulging in sort of that hedonism, the gluttony of food sacrificed to idols, maybe causing some people to stumble and some people just being more mature in their faith, but doing it in front of some of the younger, more immature believers. So I don't really want to focus on that because I don't want to be repetitive of yesterday. Watch yesterday's devotional if you haven't already. But what I do want us to focus on is the beginning of verse 19 and 20, where it talks about how Jesus knows their works, their love and faith and service and patient endurance, and that the latter works exceed the first. So faith, service, patient endurance. And then Jesus continues to say, so to hold fast until I come. And I just think that's such an applicable word for us today. Patience, endurance, and holding fast. This is so hard, guys. And I want you to hear me when I say that being in quarantine is not what anyone wants. And going through all of these restrictions and guidelines is not something that anyone is taking pleasure in and delight in. This is truly to keep all of us safe and is for the greater good of all people. And so I want us to practice patience. I want you to give me, your pastor, grace and patience as we are working and in the midst of trying to figure out the logistics of when we will reopen and when things will start to change and implement, and we will start to go back to in-person worship. It's not going to be immediate, and I need you to have patience with me. I also want you to have endurance for this time and just grace for all of the people around you that are just trying to figure this stuff out right alongside you. I spoke with a friend today in Colorado right after the governor made the press conference, and I was getting lots of phone calls and questions on whether the church was going to be reopened this Sunday, what was going to happen, yada, yada, yada. And again, wanting to think about everyone and the safety of all people and how we can do this well. And it's Wednesday and Sunday is only a few days away. I just joked with this gal that I was on the phone with and said, they did not teach us this in seminary. And the truth is they couldn't have, because no one has gone through anything like this since the Spanish influenza. So please just have patience and endurance as we figure this out together. We do not want to open everything back up as to having a huge, huge spike in cases, infect a bunch of people, see people get really sick and maybe die, only to have to close back down and be in a quarantine for even longer. We want to make really good, wise decisions that are going to be slow, that are going to be very methodical and well thought out, and that are what? They're going to require patience. They're going to require tolerance. They're going to require us to continue to run this marathon, not a sprint, and to know that we are all in this together. We have got to think about everyone. When Jesus talks about the least of these, that can be interpreted in a myriad of ways. But when I think of the least of these, I think about anyone who is a vulnerable population. And right now, that is the majority of the American Protestant church, are people who are an elderly population who a lot of have pre-existing health conditions. So know that I love you all so much, and I want to affirm your good deeds that you have been doing, your love, your faith, your service, your patient endurance, and just to know that I see that. I see what you are all doing day in and day out. We're going to get through this, but again, this is just one of those moments where we just really, truly have to be patient and know that things are going to happen when it's wisest for them to happen. They're not going to necessarily happen on everyone's time frame. Finally, when it comes to service, I want to let you know, if you are in Billings, in the Heights, we are having a food drive this Friday, so day after tomorrow. We can drop off any sort of non-perishable food items, and you can drop that off at the Hope UMC church parking lot. Our address is 244 Wicks Lane, anytime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. this Friday. That is April 24th, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Again, the address is 244 Wicks Lane in the Heights. Any non-perishable food items, especially canned foods, canned fruits and veggies, canned meats, soups, all of those things are in really high demand right now at the Billings Food Bank. So that would be a great way for you to serve at this moment when there are so many people who are hungry and are going without. I love you all so much. We are going to figure this out. I am what time is it? It's 5:00. I have had 5 hours to come up with a new plan of action. And so please, again, give me patience, give me grace, and we will know more tomorrow. Love you all and have a great night.